Distance formula day 2. So we got to review a little bit because we're not using calculators, so we got to review some stuff that's probably been a while since you've done it. Okay. So let's remember the squares. 3 squared is just saying basically 3 times 3, right? 9. We've been doing that. You should be good with that. But what you haven't probably done in a while is negative 3 squared. Remember, if that negative 3 is in the parentheses, you're squaring negative 3 times negative 3. What's the negative times the negative always give me? Positive. So negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. A lot of people are going to mess up on this, but I'm trying to prevent that. Okay? If you have a negative times a negative, it's positive. So make sure you use this little chart too to help you out. Any questions on the squaring? Basically, if you're going to square anything, it's always going to come out positive. Now, I added this little chart here at the bottom, adding positive and negative integers. So this is where people mess up too, is whenever they're trying to combine a positive and negative number. So let's look at this. So I have 2 positives. That means I added, and the answer is going to be positive. So, for example, 2 plus 5 is 7. All right, y'all are good with that. That's nothing new. Actually, none of this is new, but y'all know how to do that just fine. Next one. If I have a negative and I'm subtracting a negative from it, both my numbers are negative, I'm going to add those 2 numbers. Okay, that sounds weird, but if I have 2 negatives, I've got to add them together when I'm combining them. So let's look here. Negative 2 minus 5. What's 2 plus 5? 7. So I add the 2 and the 5 and I get 7. But the answer needs to be negative. If both of them are negative, the answer is going to be negative when we combine it. Okay? I like to think of negative numbers as like I'm digging a hole. So I can either be adding stuff and adding a scoop to it with a shovel, or I can be digging and taking out of. So if I take 2 scoops out, and then negative 5, I take 5 more scoops out, am I going to have a hole or a hill? A hole. Because I took 7 scoops out of it, right? I never put any dirt back in it. So it's going to be negative. Like the first example, if it's positive, I add dirt to it. 2 plus 5, am I going to have a hole or a hill? Hill. A hill. Okay. The next thing, next 2 are adding, a positive and a negative. So these both work the same. You need to subtract the number. So on this example, 2 minus 5. What's the larger number there, the 2 or the 5? The 5. So I'm going to subtract 5 minus 2, and what's that give me? 3. Okay. So then I got to figure out, is it going to be positive or negative? Whatever the larger number is, whatever its sign is, that's what it's going to be. What's the larger number?
5.
What's its sign?
Negative.
Negative. The large number is 5, and it's negative, so my answer is going to be negative. Think about it this way. I put 2 scoops on, but then I took 5 scoops away. Am I going to have a hole or a hill? A hole, right? Because if I don't have a hole right now and I put 2 scoops of dirt, but then I take 5 away, that's going to leave me with a hole in the ground. So it's going to be negative. Okay? Now on this one, negative 2 plus 5 is 3. 5 is a larger number. Do 5 minus 2, you get 3. And then 5 is a larger number and it's positive. So it's going to be a positive 3. Okay. Any questions on this? All right. Like I said, just going to work one example today. Example 1. Now, if you look at your worksheet and look at the instructions on it, it says, basically, like in summation, it says simplify the radical, like leave it in simplest radical form. But then you notice what I added in there? That there's 4 steps to show. So each problem is going to have 4 answers on it. Because I need you to show all 4 steps to make sure that you're getting this down and you're understanding it. Okay? The first step is to plug it in. That's just like what we did yesterday. We just plug it into the formula. Okay? You get that, boom, you get 1 answer done. Second step is to find the value under the radical. So we're going to add, subtract, square, do whatever we need to do to find the number underneath the radical. That's step 2. Step 3, we're going to simplify the radical. Like we did last week where we had to do the factor tree. That's what we'll do there. And then 4 is just the final answer. Okay? So it's a lot. There's a reason there's only 5 questions on this homework. It's because each one has 4 parts. Are y'all ready? Okay. Let's do this. In your note, your little foldable, I put the 4 steps there. If you run out of room, guys, you could always like go to this, go into your notebook or something like that. Okay. So it's always good to write the distance formula at the top. So let's write that. Distance is equal to square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. All right, I'd always write it at the top of your worksheets just so it's right there in your face the whole time. Let's label this. So I have 2 points, x1 and y1, and x2 and y2. Can I switch around the x and the y to make it like y1, x1? No. It's always got to be x first, then y. But could I switch it and say like make the first one x2, y2, and the second one x1, y1? Could I switch up and do like the negative 5, 5? Could I call that one x2 and y2? And the other one x1, y1? Yeah. You can switch the 1 and 2s, but you got to keep x and y the same. All right, so let's plug into this. Okay. The first one is x2. Angie, what's my x2? 10. Minus. Roman, what's my x1? Negative 5. What am I going to do there, class? What do we got going there? Perfect. We're going to take those 2 negatives, and we're going to make them positive. Monica, what's my y2? Negative 4. Very good. Minus. Angel, what's my y1? 5. And squared. Okay, now I just got to rewrite it with that positive in there. 10 plus 5 squared plus negative 4 minus 5 squared. And then put a box. That's my first answer. Any questions on that part? Like I said, that's just what we did like yesterday. All right, number 2. It says to find the value under the radical. So now I've got to just combine everything. So I'm going to rewrite it. 10 plus 5 squared plus negative 4 minus 5 squared. Do y'all remember doing PEMDAS? Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Like parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, all that. Okay, it's the order of operations. So if I just come over here to the side, remember PEMDAS? That's parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You've got to go in that order. So the P stands for what? Parentheses. So I've got to do everything in the parentheses first. Okay. Chris, that first parenthesis is 10 plus 5. What does that give me? Just 10 plus 5. 15. Squared. Class, the next one is negative 4 minus 5. What do I do with 2 negatives? We add them together. So remember, you look at your chart, 2 negatives. When you're combining them, you add them together. So 4 plus 5 is what? Just anybody? 9. And is that going to be positive or negative? Negative. Squared. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, does anybody know? So now the next thing is exponents in our PEMDAS. Anybody know what 15 squared is? Anybody know 15 squared off the top of their head? Okay. Good thing is your homework only has has real small numbers. It doesn't have anything this big. All right, time's sake, I'm going to tell you it's 225. And then Mandy, what is negative 9 squared?
Is it negative 81? No. 81?
There you go. Because remember, it's negative times a negative. Good. So that's positive 81. Okay.
Okay.
And don't, guys, at this point, you should always have positives. Always be positive. So after you square everything, you should always have positive numbers. It should never be negative. Then the last part here is we're going to add those together. So we're going to come over here to the side. 225 plus 81. What's 1 plus 5? 2 plus 8? Carry the 1. 2 plus 1? I think I heard it was just really quiet. What is it? 3. 306. Second step is done. All right, third step. It says to do the factor tree. So it's just like what we did last week with the factoring the radicals. We got to factor a prime number into this. Mateo, what is a prime number going to 306? Yep, 2 because it's an even number, right? And 306 divided by 2 is 153. Okay. Paula, what is a prime that are going to 153? So remember, if you add them together, the 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 3 is 9. Will 3 go into 9? Yes. So that means that it'll go into 153. And that gives you 51. Jules, which one goes into 51? 3. In class, anybody know 51 divided by 3? $17. And 17 is prime. Make sure you box that in your factor tree. That's the third step. The last one is just simply just giving your answer, just simplifying it. So remember, we line it all up. I got 2 3s, whoops. And then I got 17. Do I have any pairs? Luis, do I have any pairs to circle? 3. Brady, what happens to those pairs?
They come together. Or they become one.
They get married, come together, become just one, and go outside. Caden, what's left inside? 2 and 17. And that's 3. Jordan, you know 2 times 17? 34. All right. And that's it.